Okay, good afternoon. I'm going to call the regular monthly meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission to order for Wednesday, June 25th, 2014. If you'd all rise for the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Ms. McGill, would you call roll, please?
Chair Wiscombe.
Here.
K-Spear.
Here.
Heaton.
Here.
Longstreet.
Here.
Intern Rodriguez.
Here.
And Commissioner Uribe is not present.
Thank you very much, Ms. McGill. Ms. Rapp, any changes to the agenda?
There is one, Madam Chair and Commissioners. Item 3B1, it was a tree removal request for 1535 La Vista del Chiano. The owner has asked to postpone that item, and so we will bring it back to you when we have agreement that it works for her schedule as well.
Great, thank you very much. And written communications, do you have anything to discuss there? Or?
No, Madam Chair.
Great. Okay. I don't believe we have anyone here for public comment on items not on the agenda. So we will move on to the Youth Council report. Mr. Rodriguez, welcome.
Good evening. Youth Council is on their summer schedule, so we only have one meeting per month in July and August. Our July meeting is July 9th, and the location is still to be determined. We did appoint 4 new members as of yesterday and are excited for the diversity of the new members. But we do still have 2 vacancies in the open alternative area. We will have our leadership training in August, our first leadership training in August, and we'll set a goal to put a date to all of our events for the year. And then one of our first projects is going to be a working with a group on a community-wide anti-bullying project.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, a what?
Community-wide anti-bullying project.
Oh, great. Okay, great. Thank you very much for the report. We'll move on to commissioner committee assignment reports. Mr. Heaton, do you have anything to report on?
Yeah, thank you. I did attend the last couple creeks restoration water quality improvement citizen advisory committee, and thought it was quite informative. They had some really good reports on the water quality testing, some tracer studies, and their enforcement hotline and website. And I thought it was interesting. Their website, you can, for the enforcement of illicit discharge, you can go on the website and report that if you see something and upload pictures. So that's a real cool feature that's been added. And that's it. Oh, and I know this came up at the last meeting, which I was not at, but I did go to the Magic on the Urban Wine Trail. So, to bring that up again, I thought that was a fantastic event. Really enjoyed it, really well put together, and already looking forward to the next one.
Great. Thank you very much. Ms. Longstreet.
I attended the Neighborhood Advisory Council, and we received a report on the drought conditions from the Water Department. They're also planning a retreat coming up, and we received very interesting information regarding some neighborhood improvement districts and looking at how to organize neighborhoods to really revitalize themselves. So that was great. And of course, attended the Park Foundation meeting this month, where we discussed the distribution of proceeds from Magic on the Urban Wine Trail.
Okay, thank you. Mr. K-Spear?
I have nothing to report.
Okay, thank you for that. I attended the Street Tree Advisory Committee meeting on June 5th, and the items on your agenda tonight are the ones that Stack reviewed at that meeting and also did a site visit. On June 11th, Mr. Casebeer and I attended the Park and Recreation Department Annual Awards Breakfast. I'm surprised you didn't report on that. One of our it was great. One of all the commissioners' favorite events. So it was really great, and congratulations to all those that were honored, and congratulations to the whole department on a great year. It was a really fun time. And as well, I attended the June 18th Park Foundation meeting, and I think we talked about this, but we did have a recap of Magic on the Urban Wine Trail, and we had about 225 attendees and raised about $20,000 for youth programs. And thank you to everyone that helped and worked on that event. I was unable to attend the rescheduled June 18th Gulf Advisory Committee meeting, but I did read the meeting notes, and revenue has declined in May from the budget estimate and also from May 2013. So it's the first time all year with a month-over-month decline. Part of what contributed to that were the conditions in early May, weather conditions of high winds and heat wave. New promotions and incentives are being discussed to attract new golfers to the course. And the Players Improvement Fund dollars, which was approved in the FY 2014 budget, has been just a wild success. And the projects have received great reviews from the golfers on the course. So that's my report. Thank you. We will move on. Commission and staff communications.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, I do have a few things. And first, I do want to give you an update on our implementation of the strategic drought response that you received at your May meeting. We will be back here in July with an update for you on our progress. But I do want to tell you that we are taking our plan to the Water Commission on July 14th and to City Council on July 15th. So as you've probably noticed, things are drying out. We are continuing to see a decline in revenue at the golf course. We're down about $40,000 from last year now over these 2 months. And we are hearing, we're doing the best we can, and we think, the greens are in good condition. There are other competitors' golf courses that do not have the water challenges that we have. So, but anyway, we're doing the best we can. I am pleased to tell you that our preliminary reports show that we have used 34% less water than we did last year, both in parks as well as the golf course. Recreation is about 27% because they're mostly just facilities and the water use is consistent. With golf and parks, the hotter weather is meaning that we're using more water. So our challenge now is, after meeting with the Parks and the Public Works Water Resources, is they are challenging everybody to do 20% below the 5-year average. So if you'll remember, last year was another hot, dry year. So although we are down from last year, we will be drying out even more in order to achieve the goal of 20% below our average. So we are very concerned. But we are implementing the plan, and our plan was intended to be something that we modified as needed. So we are on a weekly basis, monitoring all of our water lines and our water use and looking ahead to on a week-by-week, monthly basis. So we're implementing it, and I'll be pleased to come back to you in July and give you a more detailed report. So that's where we are right now with that. And the other thing that I wanted to just share, I sent you an email, but I did want to announce that City Council did appoint 2 new commissioners to the Park and Recreation Commission. So we will have 7 commissioners. Again, it's been a long time since we've had a full board, so we're very pleased. Carolyn Brown, who is the executive director of the Downtown Boys and Girls Club on Cannon Perdido, and she brings a deep knowledge of the community, understanding of recreation programming, and interestingly, she also has a forestry background, so that will be a benefit to the commission as a whole. And Nicole Clark, who is a nurse at Cottage Hospital, has been very engaged in the recreation community and in many of our programs, both for herself and her family, and recently has been involved with the Park Foundation. So we're looking forward to having both of them serve on the commission. Their first meeting will be July, so we will see them then. So I know you'll join me in welcoming them to the commission. And for the last one of those good news things, I'm going to ask Sarah if she would come up. There's a So I received these right before I left the office, and the pictures were just so cute that I wanted to see what I could do to get them up here and show you. So thanks to Ms. McGill, we were able to do it. Terry Brown, our recreation supervisor with youth activities, sent a special invitation to the commission and to everyone who's listening, highlighting some of the wonderful children's activities that are taking place as part of our summer programs at the Carrillo Recreation Center. This is a photograph of the Busy Girls Summer Camp. And this is a camp for 7 to 14-year-olds, and the focus of the camp is creating their own business. And so each of them has created a product. They've developed a business plan, and they are creating these. Friday, they will have their pop-up stores at the Carrillo Recreation Center, and they will be selling their products. So on Friday at the Carrillo Recreation Center at 1 o'clock is the Busy Girls Summer Camp pop-up stores. And there's one other photograph, and here is the wind chime. The other photo was phone covers. So very, very creative, and these are wind chimes. So these are just a couple of examples of the products. And then also at the Carrillo at that time, at 1:30, you can visit the Children's Ballet Camp. And there should be one more. There we go. The Children's Ballet Camp. So you can drop by and see their performance. So 2 fun and interesting ways to take advantage of summer youth programming at the Carrillo Recreation Center. And for any parents that have interest in those programs, please visit our website because we have a lot of wonderful summer activities going on. So wanted to make sure of some of the other pop-up store items are phone cases, as I mentioned, clothing, jewelry, dog accessories, lamps, and wind chimes. I'll be there for the dog accessories. Okay, so, and with that, I do also want to invite you in general. Summer is a busy time for all of our recreation staff, but it's also a great time to get out and visit some of the programs. So if any of the commissioners have a free afternoon or a free morning, or you have a couple of hours, let us know. We'd love to see what programs we can get you out to and see them. So if you've got the time, it's a great time to see what we work so hard for all year round. And that's all for me.
Thank you very much. Well, will the busy summer girls camp be repeated again? Busy
Yes,
girls summer
It's a
camp.
one-week camp, and they have, I think, 2 or 3 additional sessions after this one.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Yes.
Just a question, Ms. Rapp. We were fortunate to receive the extra money from City Council, and how is our progress coming on staffing up and creating more opportunities?
Good question. So the first thing when I got here today, and the representatives from PAL that will be here to present their annual report, I thanked them because when we received the additional funding for camp scholarships, the funding from City Council plus the additional funding from the Park Foundation for the camperships, we immediately contacted the Police Activities League, as they operate the Campership Alliance program, and they were thrilled. And I'll not steal their thunder. I'm sure Sarah can highlight the process, but basically they started calling immediately people on the wait list. And so children have been placed into our camps. So we're very pleased with that. The Summer Fun Drop-In program, the breakfast program, is underway. And the Youth Employment Program, we've hired the additional staff person, and that program is actively placing youth into jobs. So those 3 things in particular are moving forward. The other funding was for the after-school sports program, so that will happen in the fall. So I think those are the primary things.
Good, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Speaking of the council, I'd like to welcome council member and mayor pro tempore, Kathy Murillo, to our meeting. Thank you for coming. Okay, great. So we're going to move on now to the consent calendar. Agenda item number 1 is the summary of council actions. That's for information in our packet. And agenda item number 2 is approval of the minutes from the regular commission meeting on Wednesday, May 28th.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? No, you can vote. Yeah. Okay, you just can't make a motion. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. So we are on to the Street Tree Advisory Committee items, agenda item number 3, and we're on to 3A1, which is 2140 Gillespie Street. Mr. Downey, welcome.
Commissioner Wiscombe and Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, 2140 Gillespie Street, there's a jacaranda tree that's in failing health. The tree is located on the Portezuela side of the property across from Santa Barbara Junior High. The applicant is making some improvements to the property and repairing a damaged wall, and they'd also like to remove this tree because of its failing health and the damage that it's causing. The Street Tree Advisory Committee reviewed the application materials and the tree, and they determined that the parkway adjacent to this tree is sorely lacking for a street tree. So their recommendation is to approve on the condition that the applicant replace with a 24-inch box street tree. The designated tree for this section is weeping bottlebrush. Staff would also like the commission to add to that condition that the applicant provide ongoing water for that tree. So the whole recommendation is to approve on the condition they replace with a 24-inch box weeping bottlebrush tree and provide ongoing irrigation.
Okay, thank you. We do have public comment on this item, so I'm just going to ask the commission, does anyone have any questions of Mr. Downey?
I do have questions.
Yes.
In regards to the drought and our drought plan, would the replanting of the tree take place after we're out of our drought conditions?
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioner Longstreet, if the commission approves the removal and the replacement, it's up to the applicant to determine when that would occur. They would request a permit when they're ready to move forward. Staff would encourage them to wait until after the drought is over.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? Okay, I just want a little clarification on the requirement. I don't think we've done that before. Requirement that the applicant water the tree. Is there? In other words, okay, let's say that occurs, but perhaps not enough. Perhaps too much or something. So how is that controlled? I guess is my question.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, staff would work with the applicant to provide them information about appropriate amounts of water and work with them on their method of applying the water. Since we have the contact information for the applicant, if there was something that went awry later on, we'd make contact with them again and discuss it with them.
Okay, and the frequency of the watering for establishment and then thereon afterwards after it's established. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, great. Well, I'm going to open it up to public comment. We have Mr. Tom McDonald here, right? Great. Mr. McDonald, welcome.
Good afternoon.
Okay.
I represent the ownership entity for this single-family home, and we agree with the staff's recommendation to remove this dying jacaranda tree. You can't really see it, but it's pushing that fence over, which initiated this process. I would agree with you that we should wait on planting a new bottlebrush tree until we have better watering conditions. And speaking of watering, our landscape committee, our landscaping crew does take care of that house once a week. So once that tree is planted, we could certainly water it on a regular basis. But I would agree with you that we hold off on planting a new tree until the conditions are more favorable.
Okay. Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay, so I'm going to close public comment on that item and open it up to the commission. Yes, Mr. K-Spear, did you have something?
Unless there's any other discussion, I'll make a motion to approve staff's recommendation on removal of the jacaranda tree at 2140 Gillespie and condition that the applicant replaces it with a 24-inch box tree to be planted in the parkway and watered as directed.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I would mention to work with staff about drought conditions, if that would be.
That's fine.
Okay, second.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. That carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on to item 3B2, which is 3714 Mariana Way.
Chair Wiscombe and Commissioners, 3714 Mariana Way is a kaffir plum tree that's located on the Ferenzi Place side of the property. This species of tree either does very well like this one has, or it struggles along. Recently we had a change to the designation on Upper Garden Street. This tree was their concern because of how it looked. The committee, rightfully so, feels that this tree is an excellent example of what this tree can be. And it's actually a beautiful specimen. The damage around the tree could be mitigated through some maintenance practices by making repairs. The committee determined that this would be a loss to that cul-de-sac. There's very little tree canopy in that cul-de-sac. Their recommendation, therefore, is to deny.
Okay, thank you. We have no public speakers on this item, I guess, so we'll just open it up to the commission for discussion and questions. Okay. Yes, Mr. Heaton.
If there's no discussion, I'll make the motion to accept staff's recommendation and deny the request.
Okay. Do I hear-
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that carries unanimously. Thank you very much, and thank you, Mr. Downey. Okay, we are moving on to agenda item number 4, which is the Police Activities League Annual Report at the 1235 Teen Center. Ms. Rapp, did you?
Sorry, I was looking at the agenda. I just had a question on the agenda. So, I'm sorry, I thought Sarah was going to. Sarah Spataro, who is the Executive Director of the Police Activities League, is here to present the PAL Annual Report for the operation of the Teen Center. As the Commission will remember, this is a city facility that during the recession, when the city was having very challenging times and the Parks and Recreation took many reductions, the Police Activities League stepped up and offered to operate the city's teen center as a teen center and as a hub for their programs. So one of the conditions for their lease is that they provide the Commission an annual report. And so Ms. Spataro is here to do that. Thank you. Sorry.
Well, thank you very much for having us, and the Commission for being here today. Because of that condition, we're operating very well and successfully and serving over 500 teens at the PAL Teen Center. And so we thank you all for allowing us to operate there. It's very important to our programs and to the teens that we serve. As you know about PAL, of course, it was founded by Officer Wojciechowski, Wojo, 15 years ago. And you know, why does PAL exist and why are we operating in the teen center? You know, we serve teens that we classify or we described recently at our strategic planning meeting as sort of middle teens, teens that are sort of on the edge that could go sort of in either direction depending on the type of influence that they're under at any particular time, and also at risk for the challenges of perhaps the economic issues faced by their families, perhaps English as a second language, which affects their academic performance, lack of support that they may experience in many aspects of their life. And so PAL provides a very holistic, well-rounded, and supportive environment for our kids every day. When I started my new position there, I talked to some of the teens and I asked them, well, why do you come to PAL? You know, why is PAL important to you? And one of the things that comes out primarily from almost every teen that I talk to is that it's a safe haven. I mean, it is far and above a safe place to be after school when they might have no one at home to supervise them, where they might have alternatives that take them, you know, into other activities that might not be in their best interest, and that there's the stability there of the police officers, which Wojo provides every day, being there every day after school, and other officers contribute to. We provide those positive influences. And, you know, I very simply say the mission of PAL is to steer kids in the right direction. So, you know, as you know, PAL has been operating for 15 years. We're in a position of financial stability. We have many nonprofit partners, of which the Parks and Recreation Department is a very big partner in. And we have a very good, you know, seasoned board and staff, and a lot of community support. We're in the process of developing a focus on our core programs. And for example, here's an example of what Wojo does every day when he mentors a kid. You know, we recently found out that one of our kids on our Youth Leadership Council, you know, had been involved in a little shoplifting kind of a situation. And so it came to our attention, you know. Well, what Wojo does is, you know, he just like sits him down, talks to him about the situation, helps him problem solve about it, talks to him about the behaviors that he needs to exhibit when he comes to the center, what his expectations are of him. And so this is the kind of everyday thing that happens at PAL for some of our kids. Our focus is also on team building and leadership. Our kids just went to our Cops and Kids camp at Camp Whittier. 40 kids went. You know, Officer Wojo and Officer Adrian Gutierrez were there. Chief Sanchez came up and talked with the kids. We have other community leaders there. So we had a leadership conference for the kids. Every day at the Teen Center, we have tutors there from Cal SOAP at UCSB, which provide educational opportunities for the kids and help them keep up on their homework. We check their records with their teachers, you know, try to keep them up to speed. And we're also working on career and college entrance preparation, of course, with the Scholarship Foundation provides those services. Some of you might know Andrea Rifkin, and she focuses on helping teens like prepare to get into college. What courses do you have to take? When do you have to take them? What's happening with your AP? What's happening, you know, with all those things? How can we help you get scholarships? So she's been a great help to our Leadership Council. And one of our stories is we recently had Ruth Fuentes has been on our Leadership Council for 4 years. And at some point this year, her, you know, academics started to drop. She had personal problems. She was sort of not paying so much attention to her schoolwork, but then she started emailing Andrea, and Andrea started helping, encouraging her, and we all worked with Ruth, and a board member kind of stepped in and said, you know what, we're going to get you into Westmont, and we're going to get you a scholarship. So these are the kinds of things our community partners are doing to help our kids succeed. Right now, our demographics, we serve 77% Hispanic children, and we're serving about 600 youth right now. You know, it's a decline in the number of kids that we're serving, I have to say that, since relationship with the public schools, the school district, where we had sports programs on the after-school campuses, the junior high campuses, since we were not you know, all the nonprofits that have those kinds of programs now have to use other facilities like parks facilities. You know, we lost a good number of the kids that we served in that program. So we are reevaluating, you know, how to outreach to more kids. That's one of our focuses this year. Our community partnerships are the Sports Alliance. So that's kind of our answer to the loss of working with the school districts. So we formed an alliance with the Boys and Girls Clubs, Girls Inc., and started our own league. So we're calling it a club league in soccer and in basketball. We have partnerships in terms of leadership training with our board members and other community leaders. Our kids also do community service projects, which Sarah was just talking to me about. How can we get more community service projects going for kids? And our Canvasership Alliance heavily you know, we provide this service to families that could not afford to send their kids to summer camp. So we do the screening in terms of, you know, financial ability, and thanks to the generosity of 12 nonprofit partners and the Parks and Recreation Department, we have over 300 kids that we've placed in summer camps for 1 week of summer camp. And it's huge to the families, and PAL provides some transportation where needed. So it's just wonderful. Again, at the Teen Center, we have tutoring every day. We have specialized activities. For example, at the Museum of Art, we have classes through the Ridley Tree Center, fitness classes at CrossFit, guitar lessons, dance lessons, all kinds of special classes that the kids could take in addition to just, you know, relaxing after school and hanging out. And so thank you again for being our partner in serving teens in our community. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you very much for the report. It's remarkable to see what's going on with PAL. Does any Chris, Mr. Casebeer, yes, go ahead.
I wanted to just compliment you, Sarah, and the Police Activities League. Andrew, when did the Youth Council put on the Youth Leadership Conference? May?
Yeah, that's about me.
In your
That's right.
microphone.
Back in May. And PAL had a good representative contingent that attended. There were a dozen kids from PAL, and they interacted. Would you like to comment on that, Andrew?
Yeah, I was gonna comment on that. Yeah, we partnered with them, the Leadership Council, and it was a great event. We really had a lot of fun putting that together. We got to know a lot of the people running the teen center over there. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Now, our goal is to bring more groups into the teen center so that they can become aware of the opportunity to offer their programs there during the day and especially during the summer, and also to rent the facilities so people could take advantage of it.
Great. Anyone else? I had a couple, question. You indicated there's a decline in the number of kids served because of you're no longer able to use the Unified School District fields, et cetera. So what is the percent decline approximately in it? I mean, how big an impact did that have?
That had a big impact on us. I would say, we were serving about 400 kids on the different school campuses.
Okay, so yeah.
Because there wasn't a registration and they just came after school, kind of a thing, I can't tell you exactly how many are
Right.
still coming, but
Okay.
we do, when we track our attendance,
Yeah.
it's down.
And some of those 400 kids are part of the 550 to 600 that you still
Right,
serve anyway. So, okay. And then when I was reading the report, and I think I know the answer to this, do you anticipate growth in participants and programs through the Sports Alliance? Are you anticipating a huge growth as you get?
I think we did when we tried it in the fall before I started. And in the spring, I kind of watched how it happened with basketball. But I think our challenge in soccer is, of course, fields.
Right.
Where can
Yeah.
we have practices after school? It was a little easier to get indoor facilities for basketball.
Okay, great. I appreciate that. Well, I'd like to just congratulate you on your programs with the collaborative efforts, because you have a lot of them, and I think that takes a lot of work, and obviously they're successful. And I was particularly interested in the new outreach initiative that you're doing with Safe Launch and Action Family Counseling as partners. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how that evolves, and I hope it's a great success.
Thank you. We'll be starting the end of July, and we're inviting families to come in for counseling on any subject that they want, with Spanish and English. And there'll be one group for teens, if teens are having issues, and another group for the parents. And so far as we understand, it's been very successful in the Santa Clarita area, where it's been done before, where this group is coming from. So I'll let you know. But thank you.
That's great. Thank you. Okay, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
report. Appreciate it. Okay, we are moving on to agenda item number 5, which is movies in Bonnet Park.
Madam Chair and Commissioners, as you know, we have had a partnership over the last few years with a number of organizations who have a vested interest in improving the quality of life and recreational opportunities on our west side. The west side and our lower west side are two of the most park and recreation deprived areas in our community. So it has been very appreciated by us that there has been an outreach by the United Way, the La Cumbra Junior High Foundation, the Rotary Club of Santa Barbara, and I know I'm going to leave somebody out who's really, I'm sorry? Yeah, and the gas company. So those are the primary players that we've worked on a number of improvement projects at Bonet Park. So probably close to a year ago, some of the folks from that effort started talking about how can we bring more families into Bonet Park, because we have already seen a significant increase in the activity by families in Bonet Park. So they approached us about doing family movie nights in the summer. And so we are rolling out that program. I'm very pleased to introduce to you Paul Didier, who will talk more about what we're actually doing, but we are very pleased to introduce a new program for families on the west side that has never been done before by us or others as far as I know. So with that, Mr. Didier.
Welcome, Mr. Didier.
Sure, thank you. My pleasure. I want to make sure you all have a copy. You do? Great.
Yep.
Wonderful. The partners are listed there. Briefly, there's a lot of things led up to the improvements at Bonet Park. The movies is the latest sort of step. We have a few more planned over the next 12 months. But just to recap for you, we sort of have an impromptu, unofficial name. Some of us call ourselves the Bonet Park Improvement Council. And there's about 20 to 22 partners, public and private organizations. Obviously, none of this would happen without Nancy and her team and all the people at the different levels, because over the last 4 years, we've gotten to know so many people, and everybody is totally into creating a public-private community collaborative that is focused on trying to sort of both symbolically and realistically take back and change for the better something that wasn't in the best interests of Santa Barbara as a community. So in the last 4 years, we've averaged every 6 months a major cleanup, and that's lots of sweat equity. And that isn't just walking around and picking up stuff. That's lots of scrubbing, wire brushes, shovels, saws, a variety of things. United Way's Day of Caring, the Rotary Club volunteers. We've got a number of different groups that come out. The murals have been completed there. There's new lights, large and small, around the bathroom or on the side of the Boys and Girls Club building. And the big lights up above, there's 7 of those large ones. We're about 90% done on that. We have 2 more large lights that we are going to complete that will allow the whole park to have illumination. There have been new picnic tables, additional picnic tables installed, barbecues mounted in concrete, benches for the moms that are watching their kids at the playground area, the new basketball court, and a trimming of a lot of overgrowth and improving the sight lines for the police department so that when they're driving by, they can see the activity of what's going on in the park. So a couple of outcomes that we're happy is in 2008, 2009, for a variety of reasons on West Side projects, I'd go by Bonet Park at night. And my unofficial survey was the park was typically occupied by fewer than 5 people, and those 5 people are people you would not want to meet after dark. There's obviously illegal activity going on. 2014, much lower crime rate, lower calls for service. You've got family usage. I've been to the park 8 times now between February and May after dark, and it's averaged between 50 and 70 family-type uses, people there. So it's a complete turnaround. The neighborhood is very appreciative. And so as our little group was getting together and thinking about what more can we do without getting into major million-dollar types of expenses, we thought what the community seems to always talk about is what are some family-friendly, affordable ways to enjoy the West Side. And we started sharing that with Nancy and her team, and we came up with the idea of doing, or at least trying, these 3 movies that you see on the flyer in front of you. The Santa Barbara Unified School District is going to have a food truck, so we'll have popcorn. We're getting the water donated, and then Marburg's going to help with the recycling and the trash pickups. Police department will be involved to make sure there's friendly, helpful, but police presence, especially for the first 2 movies. We want to establish a precedent that the residents recognize that this is not a freewheeling, unofficial kind of thing. It is focused on the families on the west side. We've been distributing these flyers through end-of-the-year activities at schools on the west side, the 3 schools that we work with. We have Raul Gil from the El Zarape restaurant sharing these with merchants on the west side and with the families that come in and use the merchants over there at Mitchell, Turena, and St. Andrews. So it's really focused on the neighborhoods there and the people who live there. So we're hopeful that this will set a very exciting, positive precedent that makes the summer very useful and successful for everybody involved. So we're very excited. The 7 partners listed there are the ones who actually came forward with some form of a significant gift in kind or cash to make this all happen. So we're pleased to be able to put this on and to have it be a supplement to what you do in terms of all the parks and recreation activities throughout the city. But this is something for the west side that will be very positive.
I'll just add a couple things if I may. So I do want to very specifically acknowledge all of the partners and contributing sponsors for this event. So obviously, City of Santa Barbara Parks and Recreation. I mentioned the Santa Barbara Rotary Club, the United Way of Santa Barbara County, the Southern California Gas Company, Bega Lighting, who actually donated all of the funds to improve and the materials to improve the lighting in the park. They just were outstanding. SMI Concepts and the La Cumbre Junior High School Foundation. And I do also want to mention the movies, the days, and the times. So on July 9th, we're rolling out with the most popular animated film this year, Frozen. So Wednesday, July 9th. On July 23rd is Free Willy. And on August 20th, Wednesday, August 20th, is Finding Nemo. So we're inviting families to come anytime after 7, and the movie will start at 8:30. So we're inviting families to bring their blankets and snacks, and as Mr. Didier mentioned, we'll have some food and things there, but we're really wanting this to be a family event. And actually, it's very opportune on a related subject, and I can also acknowledge Councilmember Murillo. So at the City Council meeting where Council was determining how they were going to spend the additional funding, both in operational and capital funds, Ms. Murillo raised a long-time concern of ours, which is the poor field conditions at Bonet Park, and raised the concept of beginning the study as to whether or not we could actually do an AstroTurf, or that's a commercial name, an artificial turf sports surface there. We have many challenges there, and I have to say both Cliff Lambert and Paul Didier have approached me on behalf of their foundations and said, we could raise the money. But I think we have a lot of questions that need to be answered because the area is adjacent to the creek. It is in a flood zone. These fields are very expensive to install. So we have to do some analysis. So we're very appreciative of City Council setting aside $75,000 to kick off that process, for us to look at what all of the alternatives are and whether it is in fact feasible to do an artificial turf at Bonnet, because that field is so heavily used by the community. It's overused. And in fact, we really do not close that field to do field renovation work anymore, because it gets so heavily used by the community that 3 weeks after we reopen the field, it looks like it did before. And so we really need to find a solution for that park and for the West Side community. So this gets us started in the right direction, and I really want to thank, all the people I need to thank are here in this room. Chris Casebeer has been very much an advocate for the West Side. Mr. Didier, Mr. Lambert is not here, and Councilmember Murillo. So this is a very important start to helping to solve one of the major problems with how Bonnet Park is used by the community. So we're very pleased to kick that process off. And Paul, you can crank up your fundraising machine. So anyway,
Very,
I just
very
wanted to
exciting.
mention that since we were talking about Bonnet Park.
Thank
This
you
is
very
a very
much.
exciting
Yeah.
summer program.
We really appreciate that. I think this is a wonderful program. Ms. Longstreet, you have something?
Well, I just, you look at 3 movies and you think, oh, yeah, you take a projector out there and you have a movie. I don't think anybody appreciates the amount of organization it takes to put on an event like this. And I just want to say thank you to you and to all the partners for making this happen, because it is a big deal. And that's, obviously I'm a Lower West Side resident. I really appreciate it. For years, that the park has been overloved in some cases and underloved in others. And I know as a department we've struggled with many of the challenges there. And at times have been told things like, don't bother with the field because we just want to play. If you make us get off of it for 6 weeks for this grass to grow, we're unhappy. So it's nice to see it coming back in with a new, fresh look, the park being loved in a family way and available to the kids. So thank you.
Chair Wiscombe, if I may, I can't believe I didn't mention Commissioner Longstreet. She has been the voice for the Lower West Side and the West Side on this commission for the last 15 years. So my apologies. I should have said thank you to you first, but thank you for being a voice for those communities in terms of park and recreation needs for over the years. Thank you.
Okay. I look at this as just a tremendous step towards returning Bonnet Park to the families, and it's great. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. Didier, for all that you did. I mean, you do a tremendous amount of hard work. You work hard to organize the partnerships and raise the money and get the thing done. And it's great to see the tremendous amount of progress that's been made in that park in returning it to the neighborhood and to the families, which is where it belongs. And thank you for that. It's really great. Are these movies going to be subtitled?
No.
They're not. Okay. I was just curious.
This whole, I won't go too far in the weeds, but there are only 2 companies in the United States that are licensed and approved to allow you to show the movies, which they take care of the 67 pieces of legal paper that have to be signed for copyright.
Yeah.
And so this isn't just throwing something in a VCR and projecting it up on a screen.
Just like what Bibi just said. Yeah.
It's just so that's you take what is available. Like I said, there's kind of 2 official, I'll use an analogy of blockbusters type companies that have all these licensing agreements with different studios. And so we selected 3 that we thought would be loved. We also heard from a number of families, and both parents and children, that they would prefer the non-subtitled movies because, in fact, in many of their homes, the vast majority of them, those are the videos that are at their homes for their older siblings. And so, because, again, the subtitled ones require all different kinds of licensing. They're hard to get. They're hard to rent. There's a bunch of issues. So this will feel like an outdoor living room, a very large outdoor living room. And it'll be hopefully very supportive that they will want to keep coming back. And this will become, hopefully, we think the partners are also of a mind that this becomes an annual event.
That's great. And, you know, the other thing you didn't mention, which we should mention, is the successful health fair that was held at Bonet Park 2 years ago, and it's coming back this year to Bonet Park. So
September 13th, Saturday.
Okay.
And September 20th is the day of caring. We have 100 volunteers coming at Bonet Park that day. So we do those back to back, and Bonet is every other year, and then in intervening years it's at Santa Barbara Junior High on the east side.
Great, yeah. But thank you for everything that you do and that you've done for the west side and for Bonet Park. We really appreciate it and appreciate your coming here today.
Right.
And thank you to Councilmember Murillo for being an advocate on City Council for the west side and for particularly for this park. So, great. Okay. Yeah, we'll give Paul a big hand. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Item number 6 on our agenda is just for information in your packets. So have a look at all the fun upcoming summer concerts in the park, and we have no other business, so this meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.